stand in awe before you. Yedid nefesh avarachaman mishocha b'decha eretzonecha yaru etzavtecha Emanu-El yishtachaveh el mul hadarecha yeravlo yedidotecha minofetzu v'chol ta'am higalena ufros chavivi alai et tzedkat shalom echa ta'ireret mikvodecha nagila v'nismecha bach maher ahov kiva moed v'choneinu kimei ya'ilam ya la 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 ya ya na 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 ya ya na 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 la 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 ya la 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 ya ya na 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 la la ya la 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 ya ya na 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 la la ya la 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 na 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 la la ya 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 la 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 na 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 la la Yana la 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 ya 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 la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya 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 la 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 ya ya la 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 ya la 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 na 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 la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ay 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 ay
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to Congregation Emanu-El. When I first met Elisa, early on we went to, I think it was a carnival, maybe it was a Six Flags, and we got on one of those rides that just spins you, where you get really dizzy. And she says to me, she goes, I grew up a ballerina, and when you're really spinning, if you want to make sure you don't get sick and you don't lose your balance, you choose a spot on a wall that's still, and you keep following that one spot, and it grounds you so you'll make it through the ride. And I've been thinking about that all week as Omicron kind of enters the front of our news again, as we just kind of sit on this thing and we keep spinning it. It goes faster and faster, and then we come to Shabbat. And I think of this as kind of like our spot on the wall to ground us and center us as the news continues to spin. So I want to invite everyone to take a big, deep breath in. Kind of let go of everything from the week you don't want to carry with you, of what we've been spinning through. I'd like to invite up Jacob's family to help us light the Shabbat candles.
אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר, להדליק נר של Shabbat.
Thank you. And I would like to invite up Jennifer and Bob up for a marriage blessing. So, just to give some, history, I guess I can say history being an appropriate word, is that it is 50 years ago today, on a Friday afternoon, in Rabbi Asher's study, which is the Rabbi Singer's study now, these two were married. And Rabbi Asher was unbelievably excited because he knew Jennifer from when she was 11 years old. Wow. And then 10 years ago, actually, I'll go back 10 years ago, Rabbi Pyrrhus blessed you on your 40th. And 15 years ago, when I first got here as an intern and was struggling with my thesis, Rabbi Min said, I have someone who can help you. And that was Jennifer, and that's when we met. And so I'm very lucky to give you this wedding blessing tonight. But first, I got to tell you a story, because the more I thought about you two, of that journey, it reminds me of one of my favorite midrashes in the whole Torah, which talks about Adam and Eve. Is that when they leave the Garden of Eden, we usually think of this horrible moment that they have to leave, and then they go on this journey. And the midrash goes that they're 50 years down the road in their life. And they decide at that point in their life they're going to go on a tour, and they decide to tour the world. And they see everything, and then they stumble upon the Garden of Eden. And this big voice says, you two have been away long enough, you can come back to the garden. You won't have to work, you won't have to toil, it will all just be easy. And at that moment, Adam and Eve, they looked at each other in their eyes, and their whole life came flashing past. From when they first left, of learning how to be outside the garden, the excitement of kids, of Cain and Abel, and everything in between. And they realized that that journey is what made them them. And they looked at the garden, and they said, it's not for us anymore. And they continued on their journey. And so the blessing that I would like to give you at the cantor, this oldest blessing in Judaism, is that as you've been on this journey in highs and lows and everything in between, the blessing we have for you is that you continue to be protected, you continue to have that soul filled up, and then in all of your journeys is that you continue to find a place of shalom, a place of shalemut, a place of peace.
Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you very safe.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May the light of the divine shine on the two of you and inside of you.
Is Adonai panav elecha ve'asem lecha shalom.
And in your continued journeys, as you travel the world, as you travel this life, as you have this journey, in the highs and in the lows, may you find a place of shalom, a place of peace, and a place of wholeness. Amen.
Amen. Simin tov, a mazel tov, a mazel tov, simin tov, a mazel tov, a mazel tov, simin tov, a mazel tov, a mazel tov, simin tov, yehelanu, 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 uleko Yisrael, yehelanu, yehelanu, uleko Yisrael, yehelanu, yehelanu, uleko Yisrael, yehelanu, yehelanu,
Way to start Shabbat. So with that, let's bring in the Shabbat angels with Shalom Aleichem on page 24.
First, we'll sing Lecha Dodi on page 20. Lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela shamor v'zachor b'nibur echad ishmianu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet ve'letila lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat lekol v'nelcha imekor abraham nerosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshavat techila lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela yitoreri ivahorech umiori yori yori shidaberi kevod Adonai Allah yichnig lo yoy lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela boi v'shalom teret bana gam b'simcha u'b'tola toch emunei am segula boi chala ay lecha dodi likrat hala pnei Shabbat nekabela ay lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela ay lecha dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Please be seated. And now I think we can invite the Shabbat angels. I was just excited for them.
Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Boachem Shalom Malachei Hashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruch Hu Shalom Malachei Hashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Tzedchem l'shalom Malachei Hashalom Malachei Elyon Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu
Please rise on page 28 for the Baruch Hu. Please be seated and join me in the English on page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly choruses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Adonai Tzevaot Shemo Elochai v'kayam Tamidim nochaleinu le'olam eved Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו וקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם נבהל, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד, ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
Neder
Joseph,
Bele,
Bele,
Nora,
Nora,
Tehilot,
Tehilot,
Osei Bele, Machotecha, Ravuvanecha, Vakei Ayam Nivnei Moshe Miriam Zeli, Anu ve'amru, Anu ve'amru, Adonai,
Adonai,
Yimlo,
Himlo,
Leholam,
Leholam,
Vahed,
Vaed,
Adonai,
Adonai,
Yimlo,
Himlo,
Leolam, Vahed, Yai, Lai, Yai, 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 Hai, Lai, 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 Yai, 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 Hai, Lai, 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 Hai, Lai, Yai, Lai, 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 ונאמר כי ברא יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love. Let there be love and understanding among us. Understanding among us, peace and friendship. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
As a congregation, we are praying for the healing of Frank Friedman, Rusty Holden, Lauren Knickerbocker, Micah Goldsmith, Lou Aronow, Harold Miller, Art Pilch, Donna Linzer, Lauren Van Horn, Caroline Kreitzberg, Miriam Lipton, Gary Glassel, Miriam Babasia Vibinyamin, Esther Bat Avraham Vibracha, Ruth Chaim Bat Idit, Janet Haas, Ricardo Castro, Bill Black, and Kathleen Russell Harden. If there is someone else who you're praying for, either the healing of their body or the healing of their spirit, and sometimes one affects the other, the healing of both, please share their name when my hand passes over you. Mishaberach Avatenu v'imotenu. Avraham, Yitzhak v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel v'Leah. Hu yivarech et hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and a complete renewal of spirit. And let us all say amen.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Page 44. Shamru v'nei Yisroel et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. איי איי בני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. איש אשת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי
Please rise and turn to page 46. Adonai svatai tiftach. Adonai svatai tiftach. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai svatai tiftach. Adonai svatai tiftach. Ufi agid
אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני אל אברהם בעזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו אל ישני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please continue silently with either the words on the page or with the words in your heart, and when you have finished, please be seated.
Say shalom bimroma, say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol Yisrael
I find this week's Parsha to be one of the most profound parshiot in all of Genesis. Now, this book, we're finishing Genesis this Shabbat. In this book of the Torah, it is challenging. It has deep family dysfunction, where you see action in the present lead to repeated unhealthy patterns into the future. And each year, as I read the book of Genesis and I see the characters act, I wince knowing what's coming and hoping that it'll be different, but it never is. Now, a lot of Genesis is action with little forethought of what's coming, of the legacy that is created by present-day action. Now, the pattern that continues over and over throughout Genesis until this week, as Jacob nears the end of his life. A life that has been incredibly difficult, from deceiving his dying father, to stealing from his brother, to marrying into a family that then deceives him, confronting his own reality, and then making peace with his brother. Having children where he favors one over the other ones, which leads to them deceiving him, and convincing him that his son is dead for nearly 20 years. And now this week, after this incredibly painful journey, Jacob sees Joseph again. He sees all of his sons. And as he nears the end of his journey, with hundreds of thousands of steps behind him and only a few steps left in front of him, until he too is at the end of his life. Now, one would think that at such a moment, that his primary focus would be looking backward and reflecting and reminiscing and regretting and celebrating, but there could be nothing more further from the truth than what happens in this parsha. Jacob, with a few steps left, he gazes deep into the future. Generations beyond him, a recognition that if it's only about him, then yes, his journey is over. But that will be the focus on the I. And Jacob has moved past the I. He's learned that a focus just on himself, it has been the root of all of his pain. It was the I that stole the blessing from his brother and deceived his father. He wasn't thinking about the impact on others besides himself. It was the I that followed that feeling of liking that one kid more than the rest of the kids, but not thinking about the way it would affect the rest of the children, how they would internalize such favoritism. Now, I want to be clear. It's not that he's not reflecting on what he has been through, the mistakes he's made throughout of his life's journey. It's central to this parsha. The opening line of the parsha, it harkens back to Jacob's beginning, referring to him as Jacob and not Israel. If you remember a few weeks ago, he became Israel, but he's Jacob again. And it says, quote, Jacob lived 17 years in the land of Egypt, so that the span of Jacob's life came to 147. Now, our ancient rabbinic commentators, they jump all over the redundancy found in this opening sentence. And it's significant that it plays with those two words, that Jacob lived in Jacob's life. In reading why the text first reports Jacob lived and then subsequently says Jacob's life. According to the rabbis, the first Jacob lived is reflecting on the meaning of how he lived his life over those 147 years. That's what most people focus on at the end of a well-lived life. We look back and we recount what worked, what didn't. We think of our legacy as the accumulation of our past actions. I did this with my grandmother. Anytime she would let me record her, I would put the recorder out, and she would tell me stories of growing up in Austria, hiking in the Alps, escaping the Nazis, going to London, the snow coming into her apartment when she was a teenager in London, making it to New York and Texas, and then everything in between. It was a recording, and it really was sitting in the rearview mirror and looking backwards. This is what the text is doing when it says Jacob lived. Jacob lived is focusing on him as an individual. It's focusing on the I. But we quickly shift from a rear view mirror to looking ahead to a landscape not yet realized, which is Jacob's life, which is about what comes after him. We know what comes after his eye, and it's more than his children that he leaves and he gives blessing to, because that would be too short-sighted. What comes after Jacob is not Jacob. It's Israel. It's us. It's an ideal of a people and a nation to strive towards. What follows Jacob is his legacy, a legacy that has the people of Israel gathered online and in San Francisco on a December evening, engaging with his life and what it teaches us today. Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan, the founder of the Reconstructionist movement, he captures it best that this moment in the Parsha is realizing the legacy that Jacob leaves is the beginning of the Jewish people as a nation which is evolving as a religious civilization. And evolving, that's the primary word. If we were known as the people of Jacob, we would be stagnant and we would be stuck in the past. But the people of Israel are an ideal, an evolving civilization. There's a profound dichotomy to hold these two ideas of what I do with my time as an I has a direct impact on the we. The challenge of this parsha is holding these two truths. The first one is the truth of Jacob, which is individualistic, something which is not perfect, which is flawed. And then the other truth we hold at the exact same time, attention by calling ourselves Israel, is seeing ourselves as a nation, as a collective, an ideal, chosen, and striving. Jacob and Israel are about moving past individuality to seeing oneself as part of something bigger and grander. Each of us becoming ancestors with every decision that we make in the present. And we usually, when we think of ancestors, we think about the people that came before us, those people from way before us. When in reality, we are ancestors right now. Everything we do, we have to ask ourselves, are you, am I, are we being good ancestors? To be a part of this Jewish civilization, to be a part of the people of Israel, one must be engaged in a larger Jewish project, outside of just their small sphere. And Jacob understands this. It's why he moves from the I to the we. Our prayers and our language, it reflects this in speaking in the first person common plural. We have been saying it all night long. We say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. And nu, it's that suffix right there. It means our God. I say blessings by speaking in the we, not the I. In this week's Parsha, we read the most important line in all of Judaism. We've already said it tonight. And it's drilled into our psyches as Jews. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu. Nu, our God. Not my God, our God. Our legacy, it's not about the I. Now, if I asked most of you what your great-great-great-great-grandmother's name was, let me just see the hands. Does anyone know what their great-great-great-grandmother's name was? One. Of course, Emershine knows this, of course. But if I asked you, where were the Jewish people 150 years ago, who would be able to tell me? Because it's about the people, it's not about the person. Our challenge is to hold these two realities of how my individual journey in this life is inextricably linked to us as a people that will live far beyond my individual breath. This week, as we listen to the whispers of Jacob nearing the end of his life, reflecting on what was and looking forward to what will be, it's a reminder to all of us to be the people of Israel, not the people of Jacob. Shabbat Shalom.
We are gifts, we are blessings, we are history in song. We are hope, we are healing, we are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories, we are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. L'tor vador nagid god lecha, l'tor vador we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'tor vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our hearts, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy, we are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to sing. L'tor vador nagid god lecha, l'tor vador we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'tor vador, these lips will praise your name. L'tor vador nagid god lecha, l'tor vador we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'tor vador, these lips will praise your name.
Please rise as we turn to page 282 for the Elenu.
עלינו לשבח לדון הכל, עתה גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We reach the point in the service we remember those who came before us. As a congregation, we're remembering those who passed away in the last 30 days. Roderick Dowling, Blanche Rose Greenberg, Lynn DeRoy Braverman, Monica Lowenthal Buchnick, Lawrence Goldberg, Richard E. Emmerschein. And we remember those whose yahrzeit, whose anniversary of their passing falls on this Shabbat. Madeline K. Altschuler, Dennis Antle, Irving Yitzhak Benk, Joseph Barbary, Rolf J. Berliner, Ben Braverman, Barbara Eisler Campbell, Juliette Shirky, Beatrice Miller Cooper, Howard Kavinsky, Margaret Crane, Dorothy Dubson, Mel Dvorson, Alfred Fleischer, Aaron S. Friedman, Ludith Friedman, Bernard Feudum, Ellen Garner, Harry Gulson, Terry Green, Philip Greenberg, Maria Grinstein, Harry Gross, F. Warren Hellman, James C. Hirsch, Shirley Rita Kian, Anita Kiak, Rolf Kopolov, Howard Usher Kremer, Geraldine Kremer, Jonathan Kirscher, Lenoid Kohlberg, Mark Leff, Frida Lurch, Marianne Levy, Bert Liebert, Leon Littman, Dorothy Lewis Scheibiner Novak, Ann Otter, Joseph Owades, Eleanor Plevin, Helen Chaya Atlas Porth, Gilbert H. Poss, Anne Rayhill, Roy Reinholtz, Sylvia J. Rauder, Leonard Rosen, Ralph Rosenberg, Ludwig Rosenstein, Marion R. Roth, Mildred Rothman, Jean Schlossenberg, Louis Shenson, James C. Slaughter, Phyllis Sokolov, Lester Spiedick, Marvin Starr, Ernest E. Strauss, Samuel Taubman, Stanley Tick, Miriam DeHaas Trepp, David Manning White, and Miriam Wilner. If there's someone else who you are remembering who has passed away in the last week, in the last 30 days, in the last year, where this is the anniversary of their passing, please share their name and my hand passes over you. As a community, we rise with the mourners on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah. B'yamad divrach yotei v'yamlich machutei v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. B'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'elam almei almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei t'kudisha bricho. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran b'yama v'imru amen. Yehesh lama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim alena ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav, huya aseh shalom, alena ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mamav, Yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Shalom b'mro'ah, Yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yosei Shalom Dimromav, Yasei Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imru, Amen. Yalelei, Shalom Dimromav, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imru.
I'd like to invite Jacob up to lead us in our Friday night Kiddush, and if you could grab the Kiddush cup on your way up here. Yeah, that one, bring it on up. It's going to be some very mediocre wine there for you. We are on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kichanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho Be'achava uvratzon hin hilanu zikaron lemase breshi ki hu yom tehila lemikre kodesh zeher litziat mitzrayim ki vanu vaharta v'otanu kidashta Mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodsheha be'ahava uvratzon hin haltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat.
So, before we leave, first thing is if you could please take your prayer books to the back cart. That's just the first thing. But the more important thing is that next Friday night, Rabbi Jonathan, where are you going to be? You're going to be at Shul, and you're going to be at Shul with Rabbi Jonathan. There'll be champagne.
Kiddush.
It's the other Rosh Hashanah.
And let's have a hamotzi. MLK service is the weekend of January 14th. We want you to come here on Friday night. Reverend Amos Brown will be here speaking, and we will have a choir from Third Baptist. It will be our first Emanu-El choir appearance since COVID. So that's very exciting. We hope you'll join us for that. And then on Sunday, we hope you'll come to Third Baptist Church, where our choir will be singing with their choir. Rabbi Beth will be giving the sermon. That service starts at 10 o'clock and is followed by a lunch. And we hope you'll come to everything. Are we ready, Rabbi? Let's do this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Yava va 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 bime ba ba ba. Yava va 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 ba. Hey yava va 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 bime ba ba ba. Yava va da 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 da. Shabbos.
Shabbos, Shabbos, so sein es Shabbos, 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 so sein, ja ba 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 ba, bim bam bam bam, ja ba 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 bam, ja ba 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 da 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 da, bim bam bam bam, ja ba 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 bam. Sholom, 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 so sein es Sholom, 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 so sein, ja ba 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 ba, bim bam bam bam, ja ba 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 bam, ja da 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 da, bim bam bam bam, ja ba 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 bam. Shabbos, 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 so sein es Shabbos, 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 so sein, ja ba 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 ba, bim bam bam bam, ja ba 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 bam, ja ba 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 ba